In this video, what I'd like to do is talk about the theory of job seeking. When I think about what is the theory, it's kind of a very broad subject. We're going to go ahead and talk about it as if we were looking down at the whole landscape of job seeking. So this could be everything from networking, social media, direct contact. It could be job fairs, it could be volunteering, just about anything that can kind of help you start creating a strategy immediately, whether you're in college or you already have a job, and how to get to the career of your dreams. So let's jump right in. I want to talk about networking. Networking is probably the most important thing or skill that you could start developing immediately. I used to work with a guy, his name was Jess, and Jess used to talk about a thing called the underground job market. The underground job market is kind of laid out like this. 80% of jobs that are actually come into the market or need to be filled are filled long before they ever reach the customers, or I'm sorry, not the customers, but the company's website or a job seeking platform such as Indeed. So these jobs are filled through networking. What happens is maybe you have a father or a father-in-law or a friend who works at these specific places, and instead of them posting it, they just they ask around about it, or you hear about a job and they go, hey, I know this guy who can fill this position. Or even a lot of times there's a manager who already knows somebody who would fill that position very easily. So what they do is, instead of actually posting the job, they will just go and directly contact that person and say, hey, I don't know if you've heard, but we got a job opening and we want to talk to you. So 80% of the jobs are filled that way. So if you think about starting to develop your network right now, it may take a couple years, it may take a month, who knows how long it's going to be, or maybe you actually already are networking and you don't even realize it. So who might you network with? Well, if you're a college student, my biggest suggestion is to start networking with people in your class. Those people are going to, one, work in the same career field as you more than likely. There might be some kind of deviations to that depending on where their career takes them, but ultimately they're kind of going in the same direction as you. So if you start networking with them early on, where your career grows and their career grows, it could help you in the long run. Maybe one of them becomes a manager at a specific place, or maybe he just has the exact same job as you, but he knows that you're trying to get there. This doesn't mean that you have to become best friends with everybody, though the networking that you do is going to be better if you're closer to them. So just to have a good relationship with them, always try to be on a positive note, things like that, because you never know when those ones could come back and help you. Also, it does help at that point to be a good student and to try to help others. Now, if you're not a college student, maybe you're already working at a place and you have like a lower job and you want to move up the ladder and end up in management, or you want to end up in engineering or something like that, how might you go about that? Well, what I would suggest and what I've seen done is a lot of times the people that want to end up in those places, they will start creating a relationship with the people in those departments. So I had a friend who wanted to be an engineer. He was on the maintenance team at a manufacturing company. So what he did is he just started getting in more and more contact with the engineering department. When they would come down and work on something, he would go and ask them questions. He would go and try to help them to get to know what they're trying to do and the kind of stuff that they do. And that ultimately, in a couple of years of doing that, he actually did end up in the engineering department. But showing that intent, showing where you want to go, is a very big thing. Showing that you have the drive and the interest is one of the main things that I would start doing. Outside of the workforce or outside of the work field, what might you be doing? Well, honestly, if you go to the gym, if you go to, you're in volleyball, or you do something on the side after work, those are potential networking opportunities for you too. I have a friend who's a realtor, and one of his main ways of meeting people is through the gym. And all he does is he makes the rounds every day and goes and asks them about their workout, asks them about how things are going, and he just tries to be friendly. He ultimately does this with like zero intent, and he just tries to befriend them. And in the end, he's gotten so many calls and so many potential leads through that. And most of the time, it's not even through that specific person. It's they know somebody else and they're able to connect him with them. So networking is by far the best thing that you could do. And all the things I'm going to talk about moving on are all going to connect back to networking. So next thing I want to talk about is direct contact with a company. This would be, there's three different ways. Honestly, you could go directly to their website. and see that they have a job opening, and you could go apply for it, and that's how you could get in right there. The next thing that you could do is you maybe know somebody. So you've already networked and you know somebody. I have done this specific way twice in my life, and both times they didn't even have a job opening, and I just reached out to them. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. And then there's finally a very cold contact. There's no job opening. You're just going to go right in and talk to them. So starting off with, if you want to go there and you see they have a job post on their website, this takes a little bit more upfront research, and ultimately, if you're looking for the job of your dreams and this long-term career, I would highly recommend you start researching the different companies in your area and figure out which one you want to work for. Do not let job openings on, say, like an Indeed or a Monster or some sort of job-seeking platform direct your career. Go directly for the jobs that you want to have. So you've already researched this company and you go ahead and apply. Hopefully they let you write a cover letter. Some companies are kind of going away from that, but honestly the cover letter is one of the best things, or one of the best tools in your arsenal to show how interested you are in that company. In that cover letter, I would make sure to talk about how excited you would be to work for them and give them reasons on why you want to work for them. If you're just another guy off the street that is randomly applying, it does not help you in this regard. Now, moving on, let's say you've already networked with the maintenance manager or a plant manager or a shop manager or something like that. Depending on what type of job you're after, maybe somebody in the engineering department, maybe somebody in sales. How might you use that to get to work for that company? Again, you've already researched this company and you know you want to work for them. What do? Well, in my two experiences, one, I needed to do an internship with an engineering department. So I knew the maintenance manager and I had already a good relationship because I was a local teacher in that area and I kind of talked with them quite a bit. So all I did was I just wrote her an email and I said, hey, this is what I'd like to do. I'm really interested in working for you guys because, and I gave her all the reasons of why I wanted to directly work for them. And I didn't even shoot for any other companies. I went directly to them because I was like, I want to work for you. And that was kind of a big realization in my life, is showing that intent. It was like, I want to work for you. Fast forward a couple years, I met a guy who was working in, I would say it's like IT type maintenance over a big IT, I don't know what to call it, like a data storage center. And he came in and was looking for employees. I kind of talked to him for a few minutes and I said, hey, well, so my career, I'd like to go in this direction. And we just got to talking. He said, why don't you come in and meet with us? So I went in, I met with them. There was about 5 or 6 different people there. We just sat around and talked. It wasn't like a real interview. We just talked. And at the end of that interview, or that talk, whatever you want to call it, he actually was like, we don't have a position open for this, but we want to open one specifically for you because we want to work with you that bad. So again, going back to, I had the intent, I knew where I wanted to work, I wanted to work with that specific person, and it paid off, so I directly contacted them. Now finally going in and just walking in and applying. This is not the strategy that I would recommend. Honestly, if you really build up your network and you start trying to get in touch with these people, is honestly the best one. But maybe you just moved to town and you're not really sure what direction to go or something like that, and you've heard a little bit about this company and you want to work for them. I would highly recommend you just walk in and go talk to them. I would also recommend maybe you write them an email. Maybe you could directly reach out to their HR manager, or maybe you can actually get the email for a specific department and just reach out to them. Say, this is what I want to do. Not really in any hurry, but I want to start building up relationships with you guys. You never know where that could lead you. They could say, oh, why don't you come in and take a tour? If you're kind of new in the area and you want to learn about what we're doing, we want to show you. A lot of times people who are working at a company, especially like a company owner or a plant manager or something like that, they are very excited about what they do and they would be happy to share that with you. So go ahead, reach out, do that kind of stuff. If you want to directly walk in and just say, hey, I'm in the area, I want to talk to you, do that. Write them an email. You could call. I don't know that the call is going to be as valuable, but walking in, showing your face is a super important one, or directly contacting one of those people in the area you want to work in, I would say would be your 2 best. Now moving on, I'd like to talk about job seeking platforms. So remember back when we talked about networking, I talked about how 80% of the job market is filled by networking. So that leaves the other 20%. This is where you're going to see a post on a company's website, or if they're starting to get even more desperate or they're trying to get a bigger pool, you'll see them a post on a Indeed or Monster type website. So remember, you're now fighting over the 20% of the jobs because you haven't done that upfront networking. This isn't bad, and it doesn't mean those jobs are bad or anything like that. It just means that they don't have like somebody in mind for them, which is, I guess, good if you haven't done that networking. But just remember that the job that you're looking for your long-term career, it's not always going to be on these websites. There's a lot of other avenues that you should do to get there. If I was going to use one of these job seeking platforms, I would make sure to go and fill out all of the information, get a profile, upload a resume. I would make sure it's an up-to-date resume. Hopefully you meet those criteria for the job that you want to have, because that's going to be another important thing, especially if they don't have an understanding of who you are. They don't know that. They have to go based off your resume. So they're going to, if you post your resume, this is the reason I say you should do this, is because then you're going to have contact from recruiters. Everybody I've talked to that has actually posted their resume and posted their information on these sites always gets contact through a recruiter, and maybe it's not the specific job they're looking for or the company that they're looking for, but it is a great thing, and it also builds your confidence and it makes you realize what you have to offer. So those recruiters will start contacting you, especially if you live in a bigger city. I've noticed when I lived in a bigger city, when I did this for just like a couple of months, it was almost overwhelming. So make sure you fill out that stuff and you do all of those kind of things. I want to switch a little bit, and I want to talk about social media. So the main one I would want to talk about is going to be LinkedIn. The same thing happens with LinkedIn. If you do a good job at filling out your profile and you have all of your information on there, you're going to be contacted by recruiters. I've been on LinkedIn for maybe 3 or 4 years now, and when I lived in a bigger city, I got an overwhelming amount of response from recruiters. I would say 1 or 2 a week would contact me and say, hey, we have this position. We really want to talk to you, and I think you would be a perfect fit. So that would be the reason to really maintain that stuff. In the future, I'd love to do more videos on how to, really fill out that LinkedIn. But for right now, I would just say go to LinkedIn, get something started, and start putting in your information, because it's always going to be there, and you can always update it and make it better and better. So that would be probably the main social media that I would be looking for if I was going to be seeking a job. Now, there is some other ones you can go on, like I think Facebook will oftentimes have local opportunities or local jobs in your area, kind of Facebook groups and stuff like that. But again, I don't think that those are going to be the specific jobs that you're looking for, because I'm kind of thinking of a job that you're going to get into and be in for 10 to 20 years. A lot of times those positions don't open up on Facebook groups. So now I want to kind of move into some other stuff. These ones are more directly seeking a job. So things like the job fairs. Job fairs are a great way to start networking and to meet a ton of people. A lot of times there is a job fair because they have a lot of positions open, or maybe it's a new company coming to the area and they want to fill some of those positions. And yes, they can turn into long-term great positions. But ultimately, I would try to use it as a way to network, because you never know what's going to happen. If I went to a job fair, and typically you can find job fairs at any college. I think the local college here does them. The college I used to work for back up by Salt Lake, they did one once a year, and they would have over 80 different companies come in for various types of positions. I think the college I go to at USU, they have one at least 2 or 3 times a year that is specifically for my department. So I would highly recommend you start going to those and start meeting people. This is a great opportunity for you to, one, get their contact information and to start making a good impression. If you go to a job fair, make sure you dress nice, you look nice, because you never know who you're going to be talking to. And even if you end up going and you end up talking to a recruiter, a lot of times those recruiters are actually connected back to the management or the hiring management. So if you go there and you put on, make a good show of who you are, it's going to kind of follow you to that company. So especially if you then do apply, and honestly, if I had the contact information for that recruiter, I would make an application and apply, and then I would email them and be like, hey, I just want to let you know I applied. I'm really excited to work with you. And honestly, that would be the main thing I would do. I would also make sure to talk to everybody. You never know where it's going to go. If you go in there and you talk to them and you get their business card and they like you, maybe it wasn't the company you wanted to work for, or maybe you've heard bad things, you never know. Talk to them, see where it could go. I've also seen a lot of stuff where recruiters and maintenance managers and plant managers bounce around from different places. So go ahead and make that connection, maybe start working on that network through job fairs. Moving forward, I want to talk a little bit about staffing agencies. Staffing agencies have a very broad range of abilities. I know people that are doctors that a staffing agency came in and said, we need somebody to fill this position at this hospital, and it paid amazing. And then in the end, they had the opportunity to continue working there. And it was like a major start to their career. It was almost more of like a headhunting type situation and less of a staffing agency. So those possibilities do exist. But a lot of times a staffing agency will also be called a temp agency. A lot of times they're just looking for temporary work, and it's probably not going to turn into that long-term career, but it is a way to get yourself a foot in the door. So maybe you go in and maybe you're a mechanic and they hire you on and you get to show them your skills and how great you are. So it could turn into something. A lot of times they will have a contract to go so far, and then they're able to connect back or like hire you on if they want. A lot of companies will do this if they are new to the area. So I want to say we worked with Tyson Chicken or something like that at one point, and a staffing agency was trying to hire all of their positions, and I think Facebook did the same thing. So that is a potential opportunity. Just be aware as you're going into it. If it's not going to be a long term, kind of weigh that option and decide if you want to, maybe if you're already at a job, if you really want to leave, to go and kind of see what happens. But I have heard good, I have heard bad. It's just kind of a little hit and miss on that one. And then finally, I want to talk about volunteering as a way to end up with a company that you want to work for. There's a lot of positions or a lot of companies out there that do bring on volunteers. A specific one that comes to mind is Ragnar. Ragnar is a relay race company here local, and I met a lot of people that actually ended up working on their corporate side, but they did that through volunteering. So they started out volunteering in different ways at races, and then they got to know them, and then they ended up actually working for them. Again, this kind of goes back to networking. So they came in, showed them their worth, showed them their value, and then when a job opened up, they were able to apply, and that's how they got in. So kind of think of that as a way to start like networking again. So, and also to show your worth. Not every company will let you volunteer. A lot of times, if they're subject to like OSHA requirements and stuff like that, you do have to be a paid employee, but you never know, go talk to them, see what their opportunities are. Maybe they have an internship or something that you could get in on. So maybe you want to go down that road and just honestly start direct contacting. So it kind of goes back to that direct contact through email, or maybe you go in and just say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. This is where I want to take my career. And I feel like maybe there's an opportunity here. So I would not stay or be scared of doing something in that volunteering atmosphere. So just to recap some of the areas that we talked about, networking, again, number one, you want to start networking immediately. You cannot network enough. In my opinion, you can have a massive network. So start building it, start seeing who you can talk to and seeing where it goes. Now, direct contact, that one would be something I would highly suggest you do, especially after you've researched and found the companies that you want. Job seeking platforms, again, be a little bit aware of what they are and kind of try to stick back to the networking and those direct contact if you have to ask me. But again, make sure you fill out that resume and upload your stuff. Social media, LinkedIn is a great thing to have. It's honestly really helpful in the networking side of it too, because it's like a network managing website. Honestly, you have all the people that you've networked with and you're just constantly building that up, and you never know where that could go. I know a lot of instructors will use that to network with their students so their students can use them, which actually is a subject I didn't bring up. If you're a student, I would honestly highly recommend you start networking with your instructors. Instructors at any college are usually very connected to the local industry, because most of the time those departments are actually steered by some companies, and usually those companies are the ones that are most likely to hire you because they're looking for new people and they're looking to grow people. And then moving forward, staffing agencies, just be aware of what they are and make sure you know enough about the job before you apply for it. And then finally, you can look at volunteering as an opportunity. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you. I hope that this kind of helps you on your job journey or job paths for seeking a job, but thank you.